It is indeed a great privilege to have Honorable Mr. Justice A.M. Ahmadi, former Chief Justice of India, amongst us. We have Mr. Salman Khurshid, who has been the former cabinet minister and is a senior advocate, Supreme Court of India. Sir has been a prolific writer and is the editor of the book which is being released today. It is also an honor to have one of the eminent jurists of India, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, grace this occasion. We are indeed very privileged to have amongst us Shri B. Baswan, IAS, as our guest of honor today. On the other editor of the book, Dr. Lokendra Malik. Dr. Lokendra Malik is practicing as an advocate in the Supreme Court of India and the Delhi High Court.
This is my third book on Dr. Zakir Hussain, whom I revere as one of the most outstanding presidents of our country, a teacher at heart. This is also the title of one of her book, who has a great source of compassion, commitment, and nation building. A great founding father who is equally relevant in modern scenario, who rose to all the high offices because of his scholastic personality. What I have learned from Dr. Zakir Hussain is a great spirit, is a great learning of our peaceful coexistence, of our secular credentials. May I now request His Lordship Honorable Chief Justice A.M. Ahmadi Sahab to release the book.
I only want to read one page of the story that Zakir Saab wrote for children, but I think there's a remarkable message in it. It's called Abu Khan Ki Bakri. Abu Khan knew that something was wrong, but wasn't quite sure what it was. One morning when Abu Khan had finished milking her, Chandni turned to him and spoke in her own language. Abu Khan Mian, if I continue to stay with you, I shall be very ill. Let me go to the mountains. Abu Khan understood the language of goats. He exclaimed in dismay, Ya Allah, even she talks of leaving. Unable to bear the shock, he let go of the earthen pot full of milk, which broke into little pieces. Abu Khan sat down on the grass next to Chandni and asked her sadly, Chandni, Beti, you really want to leave me? And Chandni replied, Yes, Abu Khan, I do. I want to go. And why do you not? Is it because you don't get enough grass? Or do you not like the grain? Has the banya mixed stale grain with your food? I'll get you some fresh grain today itself. No, Mia, it's not that. I like the grain, Chandni replied. Then is it the rope? Shall I make it longer? Chandni said, How will that help? Then what is it? What do you want? Nothing, said Chandni. Just let me go to the mountains. And Abu Khan exclaimed, But my dear, don't you know that a wolf lives there? What will you do when he finds you? And Chandni replied, Allah has given me 2 horns. I will use them to defend myself, etc., etc. And then, of course, she escapes one day and she goes up to the mountains and she has the fresh air of the mountains and she loves it. She loves the grass there. She prances about, she sings and she dances, and it goes really well. Till the sun begins to set and she hears sounds of the wolf groaning somewhere. When Chandni heard that sound for the first time that day, she thought of the wolf. And then she heard the sound of a whistle. It came from the valley below. It was poor Abu Khan trying to call her back. Chandni stood still and listened. From one side came Abu Khan's voice, Come back, come back. And from the other came the sound of her enemy, the wolf. For a moment, Chandni was tempted to return, but then she remembered the rope and the thorny enclosure, and she thought that she would prefer to die in the mountains than to go back to custody. The whistle finally stopped. Behind her, Chandni heard the rustle of leaves. She turned. A pair of eyes glowed in the darkness. She saw a pair of ears standing erect. The wolf had arrived. The wolf was sitting on the ground, keenly watching the poor goat. He was in no hurry. He knew that there were no way out for her. When Chandni turned towards him, he grinned and said, Oh, so you are Abu Khan's goat. He's fattened you nicely. And saying this, his greedy red tongue smacked his cold blue lips. Chandni recalled what Abu Khan had told her about Kallu, and she thought that instead of fighting the whole night long, only to give up in the morning, she may as well give up now and be done with it. Then she thought again. Lowering her head, she pushed her horns forward and, in the manner of brave people, confronted the wolf. Chandni was aware that there was little she could do to the wolf. She knew very well that the wolf was much stronger and that a goat could never win against him. All she wanted was to live like a mountain goat and struggle as much as she could. Winning or losing is not in our control. That is in God's hands. What we can do is struggle. Chandni thought to herself, let me see if I can fight the whole night through like Kallu. Time passed. The wolf started advancing. Chandni too readied her horns, and then she attacked. Only the wolf knows how hard she fought. Many a time she managed to push him back. The entire night was spent like this. Sometimes Chandni would look up at the sky and the stars and think, oh, let me see the morning before I die. One by one, the stars began to disappear. Chandni fought even harder. Then a light began to shine from afar. Somewhere in the distance, a cock crowed. From the valley below came the sound of the morning azan. Chandni thought, morning at last. I fought as much as I could. Ya Allah, the rest is up to you. As the muezzin called the Allahu Akbar for the last time, Chandni fell to the ground. Her white coat had turned crimson with blood. The wolf pounced on her as she lay lifeless and ate her up. Some birds sitting on a nearby tree had watched the fight. They were now busy arguing about who had won. All of them said it was the wolf. But there was one old bird who was adamant and said, no, Chandni has won. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am deeply grateful to the organizers of this function for having invited me to chair this session. Zakir Hussain Saab, politics was incidental. He became the governor of Bihar, also became the vice president and later the president of India.
I think the authors here, the two authors, deserve the richest compliments for bringing out this very valuable book on a truly remarkable man, and hence, in fact, the necessity for such publications. Because without these publications, we miss out on India's heritage, on what truly gigantic personalities the Indian independence movement produced. Specifically, the authors deserve kudos for three things. First, an excellent introductory biographical essay, which I saw yesterday, which should be a must-read for every school student on how to model one's life on role models like Dr. Zakir Hussain. Secondly, an incisive depiction of what outstanding qualities of head and heart Dr. Zakir Hussain possessed. And thirdly, not the least, a priceless compilation of his writings on a very, very diverse set of topics.
I just confine myself to education given the short time available. Dr. Zakir Hussain was basically the author of our modern education policy. In 1937, he prepared the basic document on basic national education and basic national education scheme on which our education policy today is derived. It's his vision that pushed our thrust towards education with the Radhakrishnan Committee after that. And we had the Kothari Committee. Now, education in India has suffered years of benign neglect. And I believe that this nation, albeit belatedly, are now investing and putting in the effort to improve the quality of our education, which had over the years declined.
We find that many of the things which we are doing in the field of education today, some of them actually were initiated by him, but many of the things that we have not been able to do can also be found in his writings. His commitment to education, of course, is in a way not only remarkable, but I think there is no parallel to it. Among other things, that he has spoken of a number of issues, starting from basic education to secondary and to university, as well as to technical education.
It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a word of thanks on this auspicious occasion of release of the book titled Philosopher President Speaks, edited by Shri Salman Khurshid ji and Dr. Lokendra Malik. I, on behalf of the author, publisher, and I on my behalf, extend a very hearty word of thanks to all of you